The name Midget was first used when MG launched the M-Type in 1928, a small, sporting two-seater. It evolved through the P and J types and to the T-Series in 1935. The T-Type saw development before and after the Second World War, ending with the TF. It was replaced in 1955 by the MGA, but no longer carried the title Midget. As this had led to a larger and more sophisticated motorcar, there was a place left in the market for a basic, fun two-seater. Step in Donald Healey, who designed such a car, drawing its main components from the existing small saloons then manufactured by BMC. In 1958, the Austin Healey Sprite, nicknamed the Frog Eye Sprite, first took to the road. In America, it became known as the Bug Eye Sprite. The Sprite was built in the MG Abingdon factory using a unitary construction body shell. It was the first open car in the UK to be built in this way, apart from a major restyling in 1961, when it also became badged as an MG Midget, and a change from quarter elliptical to semi-elliptical rear springs in 1964. The main elements of its structural design changed little until production ended in 1979. The strength of the design comes from the use of enclosed box sections welded to a virtually flat floor pan. The front bulkhead and footwell is joined to the box section heel board by the transmission tunnel and two deep sills. A smaller box runs across the floor just in front of the seats, between the jacking points. Two box section rails run forward from the front bulkhead to carry the engine, front suspension and steering. Two more rails running backwards from the heel board support the boot floor, petrol tank and in later models the rearmost spring mounts. Midget body shells, now manufactured by British Motor Heritage, still using the original press tooling, are replacements for Midgets and Sprites produced from October 1966. They are particularly popular with those enthusiasts who want the highest possible quality of restoration, or where their original car is really beyond economical or practical repair. Like most products made from a number of steel pressings, production starts with a range of sub-assemblies. Parts like these triangular assemblies that are part of the front inner wheel arch, or these rear wheel arches. They are made mostly using the floor-standing vertical spot welder. In spot welding, the metal pressings are brought together between two copper electrodes through which a high current is passed. This ranges up to 12,000 amps for thicker steels. The metal melts and fuses together at the contact points. Because of the high temperature produced, the welding tips are cooled with a constant supply of chilled water that is pumped around the factory. MIG welding is also used extensively in the production of a body shell, typically in more highly stressed weld areas. An electric arc is struck between the metals being joined and the welding wire that is fed through the welding gun. An inert gas is streamed around the point of the weld to prevent oxidation. Here we see the support tubes being welded into the main front rails, where the bumper mounting points will be. These rails are just one of the smaller sub-assemblies that build up into a complete front end for our body shell. They're clamped into what is known as the H-frame jig, which will ensure the accurate geometry of the front suspension and steering. On another jig, the footwell assembly is being made, but here spot welding is the order of the day, firstly using a hanging gun. This is a manoeuvrable equivalent to the vertical welder that we saw before. This welding gun is supported from tracks above the work area and is counterbalanced, allowing the operator to move around the work. Once all the pressings that make up this assembly are held together, with the help of a second operator, welding is completed on a vertical welder. When finished, the footwell assembly, together with inner wings, joins the H-frame that we saw before to make up the complete front section of the body shell. In another part of the Heritage factory, the rear section of our body shell is coming together. Starting with the rear rails, the boot floor is clamped into the jig above them, then spot welded into place. Like the front section, the whole assembly comes off the jig for some welding to be completed with the vertical welder. Back on the jig, the inner wheel arches are added, followed by the outer arches. With the major sections now built, all starts to come together on the main bodyshell jig. First, with an operator working from each side, the front section is welded to the floor pan. The transmission tunnel and heel board follow. The rear floor assembly goes on next. Now, the inner sill panels. The outer rear panels are assembled on a separate jig, along with the sills, before being added to our body shell on the main jig. Finally, the front shroud assembly goes on, its correct position being determined by side extensions to the main jig to ensure correct door gaps and openings. The body shell now comes off the main jig and is placed on a rollover stand to allow better access for the completion of the MIG welding. The last few parts are added, mainly in the rear suspension area. All that now remains is for the finishers to check the outer surfaces and in some specified places add the lead filling, which is now an environmentally friendly lead substitute. After cleaning through the weld nuts with a tap, the bolt-on panel assemblies are added. Front valance, bonnet, front wings, doors and boot lid. The inspector goes through a comprehensive list of checks before the completed body shell is wheeled out to go to the paint shop. Body shells are supplied either coated with a high build primer or finished in the customer's top colour of choice. This customer came to the factory to fit the wheels and suspension to his shell, painted in the original Brooklands green, before taking it away on a trailer. Our parts guide and price list has full details about Heritage body shells. The Heritage support team will be pleased to send you your copy in the post. Contact them by either phone or email.